My name is Timo Hissa. I live in Western Finland, city called Vaasa. I've been photographing 50 years out of my life. I had a couple of years pauses in the middle, but it still feels interesting when working with film and learning the actual trade. You know, it's a learning curve that lasts your life, or maybe outlasts your life. I started developing my films when I was about 7, 8 years old. I had an Agfa box camera, and it felt exciting to see the results. You know, you have to wait for them. And I still feel the same way when you have shot a bunch of film and you get it out of the developing tank. You know, you get the same feeling that what do we have here? The feeling is every time that now maybe we have the best pictures ever. That didn't happen when I was younger. I always thought that if I would have had Hasselblad or if I would have had Leica, the pictures would be totally different. The thing is that even back then we had Soligor and we had Praktica cameras. They were already good enough, you know, for professional use nowadays. If you want to use it, it wasn't about the gear, it was about the trade. But having bad luck with developing, you know, and work in the dark room teaches you. So that's a learning curve, you know, and you just have to take that. I had period with digital photographing when I was doing commercial work. About 20 years ago, it felt like a wonder to get the colors, the sharpness and everything as it was, but something was lacking, and the number of pictures became too much for me, I think, and I think also people's ability to interpret pictures grew bad, or at least it grew different than it was before. I felt that the picture flow was too much, and then one elder gentleman in California in a gallery told me that if you want to sell prints, you have to photograph them yourself on film. You have to develop the film and you have to make the prints yourself. Then I bought an old Hasselblad from Sweden and started to do work, you know, that I liked just for me, you know, and I found it that that was the way to keep the thing going, you know, and keep the interest, because you have to love what you do, and that's the one reason I stopped the commercial work also. Cameras don't really matter, the lenses don't really matter. I usually, when I have time, so I look at the old classical Russian paintings, how they use light there. I think that's maybe one of the best sources to study light. Ingmar Bergman movies, they were pretty good also. It's all about the light. I've been very often asked that if I'm a nature photographer. I said no, I photograph everything, you know, that's worth the effort, you know. And we have things to photograph where we live. We don't have to travel to the other side of the world to see anything. Many times on our neighborhood, the places where we live, we have more knowledge, you know, to find the light, you know, and to find the idea. I have some prints I got back from a Brussels exhibition. Here's one that I like. That's one I like. It's about light, shadow, and the tones. It's an 8 by 10 inch black and white negative that I exposed using the zone method. There's a lot of literature and a lot of even more talk about developing, you know, and different systems. I think they're pretty simple. Here's another one, 8 by 10. The idea with this picture was the sun hit the seaweed under the surface really nicely, and I started to think that there's a reason why people can't live underwater, that maybe we would fuck up that world too if we could live there. So that's why we have to say on surface. And here's a 35 millimeter print, or the negative was 35 millimeter. So you see there's not a really much difference, you know. They are different medias, you know, but there aren't any better or worse film sizes. But the thing, using film as a media, so I get all the tones I want in the picture, and I used Hasselblad digital back, you know, when I was doing commercial work. That's really nice when you have to do big panorama, 3 by 8 meters for some expo or something like that, fast, and get paid for it. But one thing you can't do is get those tones sliding like they do when using film. It's like trying to make Mona Lisa out of Legos, you know. That's why I use film. I try to concentrate in just one film type, the same developer, the same paper I use. It sounds boring, but if you want to control your images, so you know what you're getting when you press the shutter, you know, you almost have to do that, you know. You don't get lucky, you get skills with years. I think that's the point. And using large format cameras like the one I have here, that's one of my favorites because it's light. They already planned this, you know, over 100 years ago, you know, how everything works, you know, and the light is still the same, even everything else changes. So you have to work more. They are heavier, and you have to think what you do. The media is also a little bit more expensive, the film, so you don't just go shooting, you know, you have to concentrate. But it's very easy to compose, you know, on the matte screen back here. And when you fold it up, you can have it in your backpack. And it's how you take it. I usually think that if I shoot 25 pictures per year and I have 20 pictures that I think they are excellent, it's a really good catch. After 10 years, if you have 200 really good pictures, that's marvelous. Nobody has that, you know. And that's mainly why I use film. About the methods, Ansel Adams and his friend a long time ago, they were hired from the university to write about basics of the photography. And I think that's why it's written so it sounds really complicated, but like the sew method, you know, so that you can develop the film as you have exposed the film. It's the most important thing, I think. It's really easy. I usually meter the darkest area where I want to see structure in a picture. That's my zone 3. And then I meter the lightest area on a picture where I want to see structure. Not the plain white, the one where I need the structure. And there should be 4 steps, f-stops, you know, between those two. If there are six, so I have to minus 2 steps when I develop. And 1 step is about 25% of the time, so if the difference between the dark and the light, what I meter, is 6 steps, I have to minus 2 steps, so the developing time is 50% less than normally. If there's only 2 f-stops between the light and the black area, so you have to add 2 f-stops, so 50% longer developing time. That's the whole zone system. It's nothing to it, you know. But then you have results that you could never even imagine to get. And it doesn't matter if you have a 35mm camera or if you have an 8x10mm camera, but you have to master the trade developing so you get a good start. I often hear that if you have 35mm camera, it doesn't mount too much. You can't make big prints with that. That's pretty much not the case. Like this one here, if I need a big, we'll say 3 by 3 meters, something like that, picture of this. So I take this print that I think it's already toned and ready and flattened, and I take and I scan this one with the same software I usually scan negatives, so I can enlarge this almost endlessly, you know, to the sizes that are needed. So that's the case. All the talk is about scanning film, so I would recommend that if you want to see results, you stop scanning the film, you go to the darkroom, print your work, make it ready, and scan that print, you know, if you want to make it really large. Anyway, it's all about light, not about the gear, and learning the trade, you know, it's a nice process, and it continues all your life. I called to Sweden. I wanted to buy one negative. I talked to this photographer. He was 86 years old, and he told me on the phone that he doesn't have time to talk with me right now. He's going to the mountains to photograph some birds. So I have to come back after 3 weeks. So I think that's the case. You enjoy the ride. That's maybe the reason I keep doing this.